Hi YouTube, please give me a moment while I connect to Facebook. Good morning everyone and welcome to today's video. I am Sami Abasad, Director of Education at T3 Live. Hope you're doing well and welcome again to the Strategic Swing Trader weekly broadcast. We're going to be reviewing the market and we will go over the swing ideas for the week. But before we start, as always, a standard required disclaimer to let you know that trading is risky and that whatever we discuss in this video is for educational purposes only. If you'd like to download a copy of my free ebook, link for that is in the description below. All right, let's get started. We're gonna go over some amazing swing ideas for the week. But first, the market. So last week, obviously, I said bullish unless we break this pivot. And if you got bullish, you got rewarded. That was the right call. And some of the big names that I mentioned really did well, like Tesla, Facebook, Meta. Those did really well. Now, it gets harder here precisely because of the big run up, right? Especially if you look at Meta into the 200, if you look at Tesla, as I showed you, huge move up into the declining 20. So does it have a little bit more room to go before it probably comes back in a little bit? Yes, it does, but it's not an easy call for the week. The Qs also completed the move back up. So this drop, we had 100% retracement. So if we take out Friday's low, that would signal the start of a pullback. Okay, that doesn't mean I'm gonna be bearish because I still have that rising 20 below. I still have the higher lows, right? So it's not an easy call for the week. It's gonna be day by day this week, okay? Unlike last week, it was just bullish all the way through. So for this week, it's gonna be day by day. The long-term picture still doesn't look perfect at all. I mean, it doesn't look quite right. The monthly, the weekly, not as good as, it's not as bullish. But it's also losing the bearishness too, especially on the weekly. We have higher low right here, higher low right here, and equal highs, if not a higher high. So we're breaking, challenging the downtrend on the weekly chart. So again, it's not a pretty chart at all, but we'll have, but going forward until the picture is clear again, I'm gonna be taking it day by day. Okay. All right, so that's kind of my take on the market. Not as clear as last week at all. And we'll see what ends up happening. In terms of the individual stocks, here's a few that I'm gonna, like a dozen or so that I'm gonna go over, but in the description below the video, I copied and pasted a long list of stocks that I really like. This is just kind of a dozen or so that I like, that I thought I would go over, that are not too thin and that look ready to go come Monday, right? Tomorrow. Some of the other ones look just as good, but they may not be quite ready for tomorrow. So I put them in the description. So check them out if you're interested. And by the way, forgot to mention, if you find benefit in today's video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. That helps support our channel. And if you have any questions for us, email us, info@t3live.com. Really easy. info@t3live.com. All right. Capri base breakout. So that looks good, but since the base isn't very tight, the stop would have to be under the pivot. Okay, so over the base long, stop under the pivot. ETHE, this list is sorted alphabetically. ETHE is the grayscale ETF fund for Ethereum. Unfortunately, Ethereum coin doesn't have an ETF like BTO for Bitcoin, right? So I like BTO, but it's a little too late now. It has an hourly base breakout. But Ethereum has a better daily pullback. So I like it higher over 810. Let's just say stop under 741, or more secure would be 690. Target 1 would be about 10. Target 2 would be a long-term long-term hold. HSDT is a transition on the daily chart, is a transition A breakout. So over the base, stop under it. We just got into the DOMA triggered on Friday. This was an official call in the newsletter. It's the same exact setup. So I like it when the stock goes sideways into the 20, really tight base, and then breaks out. I'm not a huge fan of penny stocks. I rarely play anything under $1, rarely. But in this case, HSDT and DOMA is already in play, but HSDT looks good over the base. Okay. HXL has a 1, 2, 3. So had a bullish gap up on Thursday, had a narrow body bar. It's not a narrow range, it's a narrow body bar. So it's a bigger battle bar, and has a 1, 2, 3 setup. So 68.50, stop under 66.21 on the HXL. The MLGO been bullish on China for a while because it just bottomed. I mean, if you look at the FXI, it had a multi-year drop into the 2007 low. How can you not get bullish down at the bottom there, especially when it went climactic? Now FXI is up more than 50%. I never ever trade FXI. I trade the yen, and I have, just as a disclaimer, I have 1,000 shares of it, and I have 1,000 shares of the CWEP. So those are the two main ETFs that I trade. The China ETFs that I trade, because they give you, this one gives you 2-to-1 for the internet stocks, and the yen gives you 3-to-1 the FXI. Okay, so you get bigger move, and it's way more than tripled since it bottomed. So I like it a lot. It's higher still, but it's a little bit extended now. So from the China sector, or the China stocks, I like MLGO. I like LU also. It doesn't look like it made the cut, but here it is. Looks really beautiful. Triggered last week. I had it in last week's video as a breakout. Triggered. Now it has a 1, 2, 3. There's a few more. I like ZH, for example, but I think ZH is already on the list. There it is. So MLGO, I like it as an hourly buy setup. It triggered already on Friday, but I would say it's still okay over $3. Stop under 245. Okay, and target that flat 200 MA around $10 on the MLGO. OKTA, disclaimer, I already have a position, but it still looks really good, especially the weekly chart. That weekly looks beautiful. Now it needs to ultimately take out 74.20, but that would make for a large stop. So over 72.60 I think is good enough. All right, stop under 62.40 is the right stop. You want to cheat a little bit and use a tighter stop, 64.60. Okay, obviously the tighter the stop, the higher the reward to risk, right? Because the stop, which is the difference between the entry price minus the stop price, is your risk. And so the smaller that risk is, the more money you'll make if the stock works in your favor, and the more shares you will have also. So you benefit in twofold, right? More shares and better R to R, reward to risk. So that's the thing about it. But technically speaking, it needs to clear 74.20, and the stop should, technically speaking, go under 62.40. Okay, long-term trade. PRPL, a little bit on the thin side, meaning it's not very liquid, but has a nice weekly chart. So over the base, which I think is $6, or yeah, over 6, over the whole number for sure. Okay, and then stop under 4.95. So it's about $1.05, 10 cents. Okay, on the PRPL. I have the TXG, which is the same exact setup as you can see, but it's already up 3 weeks in a row, or whatever, 3 bars in a row. So this one looks the same. There's a few TXGT, I think, or TXG, forget the symbol, but whatever. There's a bunch of stocks that are transitioning. We call them transition A setups. So long here, stop under the red bars low. RCL, really nice move, and it's been basing, so I like it as a 1, 2, 3 off the weekly chart. So long over that bar is high, stop under it, target the 200. Okay, on the weekly. And then RNG, also I have a position in it, but still looks good, not too late. That's why I'm mentioning it. If it was too late, I wouldn't even bother. In fact, it may be too early based on the weekly chart. It may be, it may not be quite ready, but I already got it. Looks good. Looking to add to it personally over 40.25, let's just say, or so. stop under 39.40. It's 39.50, but give it a little bit of room so you don't get shaken out. So that's how, so that's the RNG. SIVB, obviously, I mentioned it the last couple of weeks. I have a position in it from this day, and I would like to add to it over 370 something, I believe. Oh no, it's 306. The stop is 373, 374, 373.99 basically. So I like it as an add. TER, wow, been basing. I wish the base was a little bit tighter, because then it would be a better, tighter stop. But it looks good. Over that bar's high, stop under the bar's low. So as you can see, 105 by 98 long. TMF have a pretty big position in it. It's been, it's flatlined the last couple of weeks. So, it's been, it's been just sitting, not moving at all. And I'm eager to see it move. I like it higher over, can try over 928, but I would say over 954 long. Stop under 905, better yet, 889. Long-term trade on the TMF, which is the leveraged ETF for the TLT, which is obviously the 20-year treasuries. Okay, the 20-year treasuries ETF. TSE is a weekly transition. Maybe not quite ready because the 20 hasn't yet flattened out and started to point up, but I like it higher over 20. Well, 28.20 is the right entry, but the tighter stop is over 27.10, let's just say, and then stop under 24.90. Okay, target one, it has a lot of room. TSE, UNG also have a position in it, but looking to add over 992, stop under 915. Got all that volume. Unfortunately, it never really accelerated. Accelerated means, when the stock starts to go vertical, like we saw Tesla maybe do. Even Tesla didn't go vertical, but look at the distance between price and the 20. It starts to expand day by day, and the volume starts to also increase. That's how you know it's very close to the bottom. And now it's going the other way, climactic, right? Going climactic the other way. So UNG, very nice volume, but it never accelerated. So I already raised my stop to under the pivot on the hourly chart, which is 945, but I'm giving it to 939. Okay, but looks good if it can just take out 992 and then higher to the 20 MA on the daily, which is around $11. YEXT is a weekly transition and then daily also breakout over the base, stop under it, and target maybe $10. It really will depend on what the market ends up doing. As I said, as bullish as I have been on the market, and as many positions as I have, and I have well over 50 positions. I don't exactly know how many, because I'm just taking anything that has a really good setup, and there's just been so many of them. As bullish as I have been on the market, it still is not a pretty picture on the weekly and the monthly time frames, especially when it comes to the Qs. But my thinking is that we bottomed simply because a lot of the big names have bottomed. I feel very, very sure that, for example, Meta has bottomed. I feel very, very sure that Nvidia has bottomed. I feel very, very sure that Tesla's bottomed. How about Netflix? Now, what about some of the other big names? I don't know. I'm not as sure. I think Amazon is bottomed. What about Google? What about Microsoft? Not as pretty, not as good. So I don't feel as confident. But there's a lot of big names that I feel very sure that they've bottomed, and I'm not getting out, even though I have really big positions in some of these names, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna start to come in a little, soon. They're gonna fall back. I don't want to get out because it's a long-term play. Otherwise, I have over 80,000 in profit in Tesla so far this year. So that's just Tesla. And Meta, I don't know how much. So, but and it's normally, if it's a swing trade, I'd be looking to get out. Right, maybe one more day and that's it. But I'm looking to hold long term, and I wouldn't be looking to hold long term if I thought it was just a run up in a bear market and we're gonna collapse again and make new lows. Obviously, I'd be an idiot to do that. So I'm only holding because I decided to hold only because I feel confident that the bottom is in, and any additional pullbacks should be viewed as buying opportunities. Okay. And the beautiful thing about being a technician is that you're not married to an opinion. You try to be as objective as possible. You review the market day by day, week by week, and make, and assess, evaluate, and then trade accordingly, right? Sometimes you're wrong, but at least you don't have to. It's not like you commit for life. You don't just say, okay, the market's bottomed, and if you're proven wrong next week or a couple months later, it's not like you can't go back and change. And no, you can, because you learned something new, right? The market provided new information. All right, YEXT breakout, ZH. Pretty nice, triggered already on Thursday, and I was upset with myself because I had it on my watch list that I let it go. I didn't see it when it triggered, so I should already be in it, but I'm not. So now there's two entries on it. One is over 85, $1.85. Stop in both cases under 155 or 159, but it doesn't make sense to use the tight stop, since the wider, more secure stop is only 4 cents below. So that's the first entry. That's the more aggressive entry, over $1.85, stop under $1.55. The less aggressive, more secure stop entry would be to let it take out 192, and then the stop goes still under 155, and then it looks really beautiful on the weekly. It's the same pattern as some of the other names that I mentioned, trying to transition. It's Chinese, it hasn't gotten going as much as some of the other names, so hopefully this gets going. ZYME has a daily base breakout, so over the base, over 1930 maybe, 1922, so 1930, stop under 1750, and target up here somewhere, okay? Could be around, well, we can just check, about $23. And then last but not least is the LU. The reason why I didn't have the LU on the list, even though I really, really like it, is because it doesn't have a lot of room to the 200, which was going to be my target. So that's the reason why I didn't have it on the list. And then when I started to think about some of the other Chinese names that I liked, this came to mind, of course, because I love it. I mean, it's a great trade so far. Hopefully it continues higher, and then one can add to it over 326, stop under 305 on the LU. Now onto the bearish list. We at least have somewhat of a bearish list this week. It's been weeks since I've had a good bearish list. I can't find good bearish setups. Maybe that's very telling, right? Because everything that's been working has been mostly bullish. Very few bearish names have actually worked as shorts. BTAI, climactic on the daily. So check it out. Up, and then starts to accelerate a little bit. So short under this bar's low, 31.30, stop over 33, and target the 20 MA on the daily chart. Don't love it, just FYI. I don't love it. If we didn't have that bottoming tail just a few days ago, then I would do it for sure. But because of that bottoming tail, it makes it a little bit more difficult. The CLFD, wow, speaking of bearish names, doing well. Wow, that's been a great short without good entries. I don't see a single good entry on the way down. Here's one, 1, 2, 3 under 67.88, stop over 70.30. The biggest problem that I see with it is the stop may be too tight, which means it easily gets shaken out, because with tight stops, especially if you're holding overnight, it's easier to get shaken out. So target $60 and then maybe even 52, but it would need the market to turn bearish before it gets down to 52, I think. All right, though I really, really like it as a 1, 2, 3 setup. FARO, this was a secondary gap, secondary offering, so I don't like it as much. Short under the base, which would be under 26.90, stop over 28.80, and then target new lows, new all-time low. So no target. NVS, we had the bad tick a few days ago. Remember last week we had some crazy some stocks have crazy opens. I'm in the shop. It scared me. AT&T, you know, look at this. I took a stop on it. Probably shouldn't have. Under 1770 I had my stop, or 1779, and then over here stopped, but it was just a bad tick. So I thought about contesting it. I didn't. It actually looks good for next week over this pivot right here, over 2010. VZ, I have a position in it, but still looks good also as a long. So NVS had that same issue, I believe, but it looks beautiful under 89.27. Stop over $90 as a base breakdown. So under the base, stop above it. Okay. ORMP is a penny stock or just a $2 stock. Looks good under the base. So whatever the lowest point is, $1.80. Stop over 230 on the ORMP. Reminds me of one of the best shorts this year or last year. Last year. TIL was a low price stock, had a nice base after a gap, and then short, down, and wouldn't trail until I don't know exactly when, but I think until there. So wouldn't trail. It was beautiful. And so the ORMP, same thing, but in this case, bigger gap, I guess, and it's a base breakdown. SATX, so had collapsed on last week, maybe on Monday, and that looks like it was on Tuesday. On Tuesday collapsed, and now it's been putting in a really tight base. So under the base, stop above it. Looks lower, looks good as a short. I don't like the fact that it dropped so much already. I would have liked it if it was a smaller drop, but it still looks lower under the base, stop above it. SVRA is a climactic move. So up, and notice how the bars are getting bigger. The volume is also getting bigger. But in general, I don't like to short a climactic move up if it is a low price stock. I don't mind shorting a low price stock. I just showed you the TIL, which dropped from like $2 to 60 cents. Okay, I don't mind shorting low price stocks, but I don't like to short them when they're going climactic to the upside because they don't usually fall apart. Having said that, there is a nice entry. There is a nice, not a very nice hourly. Actually, hourly is not as good as I thought, but there is a nice entry on the daily under 272 by 282, 10 cent stop. Target when you're playing counter trend is the rising 20 MA. So wherever it's at by the time the price catches up. Could be 220, it could be $2, who knows. Last but not least is the VSAT, and it looks lower under 34. Stop would be over 35.30. It's got a rising 20, so that bothers me a little bit. Maybe target one tight, just small target 32.40, and then target two around $30. So again, the rising 20 bothers me a little bit. What I really like about it is it popped only to fail the very next day. So everybody that bought it here got killed the next day, and so not everyone probably sold their position. So when it starts to break, if it starts to break down, they will likely sell, which will help the stock drop, which would kind of start a snowball effect, and hopefully the stock follows through to the downside. All right, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, this is Sami Abasad with T3 Live. Good trading, everybody.